Hey folks. So I'm gonna do a little experiment today. A lot of people have been giving me really nice feedback from the last video, just the Ballistica introduction. And one thing that came up once or twice, people are asking for kind of more live demos and just, I don't know, things like that. So I'm gonna do a little live demo or a little live coding session here and see how this goes. So I've spent the last few days just going through all the Ballistica code and just kind of debugging things, and a few of you folks have been too, so I've gotten some pull requests and things from people fixing stuff, so that's very awesome. But I thought I'd just go through one bug that I found and try to fix it today, and if any of you are modders or coders or whatever and want to follow along and just kind of see how I work, I thought this might be a nice opportunity to do that. So jumping right into that, so I'm going to go into where I have my Ballistica repo and pull that to make sure I got the latest. Okay, I'm up to date. And so one issue I've had on my to-do list is this one. So I'm going to work with the prefab debug version, which I think I mentioned before. It's good to always use the debug version when you can. It'll run a little slower, but it'll catch a lot more errors and things. So if you're working on mods and stuff, it's highly recommended. So here we go. Now one issue that I found is, I'll show you here. I'm noticing that when I die, I am not seeing my little respawn counter. So I respawn correctly, but you'll notice if you play the game, normally there's a little like respawn counter that appears to the side here and tells me when I'm coming back, and I'm not seeing that. So I have a hunch as to what's wrong, but I'm going to step through and kind of see if I can fix that. So I'm going to jump into my editor here. Sometimes I use PyCharm, sometimes I use Emacs, probably more so Emacs. Emacs is super old and nerdy if you're not familiar with it. So this is going to look like weird and arcane and stuff. I'll just try to explain. If you're not familiar with Emacs, this will look like gibberish, but I'll explain what's going on. So I'm going to go into my Ballistica directory, and now to try to figure out what's going on, I always start by just throwing print statements and things like that in there. So I'm just going to run a search under the Ballistica directory for, I think that thing is called respawn icon. And sure enough, there we go. So we can see if, yeah, there's a few different places where I'm pulling it in from the Ballistica standard library.actor.respawn icon, import respawn icon. And yeah, a few games are pulling that in, but also gameactivity.py is pulling that in. So this is probably what we want. And actually, yeah, I'm just gonna jump to where that's defined. And so the very first thing, I want to make sure this is actually still getting created. So I'm just going to come into the respawn icon class under init. So this is the constructor. This fires when the thing gets created. And as a sanity check, I'm just going to throw a print in here. Okay, save that. And this little, I got Emacs set up so it turns orange while it's running like type checks and things like that, and then when it turns white, that means it's good to go. So usually whenever I'm editing something, I'll wait for that. Oh, turned red, that means there's an error. So I correct it, hit save, wait, okay, now it's white, all the checks went through. And so when the checks go through, then I know that the code will probably at least run. So I save that. Now I just rerun this, which will compile and copy the script and relaunch the game. And I'm just going to do that same thing. I'm going to launch this playlist, kill myself, and yay! Okay, cool. So we got the little hello world thing here. So our icon is happening, but we're not able to see it. Now, again, I have a hunch what this might be. One thing that has changed from the old BombSquad to the new Ballistica setup is the time functions. I switched them all so they work with seconds. They used to be milliseconds. You can still work with milliseconds, you just have to pass an extra argument or whatnot, but to me seconds seems a lot more natural, so I wanted to switch that stuff over. But there's probably a number of places in the code where it's, I either forgot to switch it or the math is wrong or something. So it's maybe passing seconds, but it's getting interpreted as milliseconds or something like that. So I have a hunch that might be going on here. So let's scan through and see what this thing is doing. Respawn icons. Okay, it's grabbing some assets. Looking for a slot. Okay, here we go. Now it gets down to this part where it's actually starting to create actors and nodes and things like that. So here's something it creates an image node. So we're not seeing this guy. So something must be weird here. Let's see what... So we create that. Now we're going to look for any sort of like timing related code. Animate. Okay, so it animates its opacity. At 0, it starts at 0, and then at 0.2, it's 0.7. Okay, this all looks right. And this video could be extremely long and boring if I can't figure this out simply. Okay, position. I'm just scanning through to see if anything here looks weird. Any time values or... These all look good. So as I said, every time-related function now deals in seconds. So here we're animating the scale of the name. So at time 0, it starts at 0, and then at time 0.1, 1/10 of a second, it scales up to 0.5. That seems reasonable. Okay. Ooh, this could be something. Aha, okay, there's something down here where it's working with milliseconds, but it's plugging in respawn time. I have a hunch that... Yeah. Okay. I have a hunch that respawn time is not milliseconds. Respawn time is probably seconds. So to do that, let's just throw a print in here. So let's see what this respawn time is. Print respawn time is self.respawn time. Save that, make sure it turns white. Okay, we're good. Now let's run the game again and see what respawn time is. Kill ourselves, look for the print. Okay, respawn time is 5. Okay, so the guy should be coming back in... Is that right? 5 seconds? Well, I assume so. Now, update remaining equals int. So it seems this remaining code... What is remaining? Okay, remaining is int, which is respawn time minus... Yeah, it looks like this code is still dealing with milliseconds, so this code is probably old. The problem is respawn time is seconds now, and not milliseconds. So as a test, let's just take respawn time and multiply it by 1,000 to take it from seconds to milliseconds, and convert it back to an int. So this will kind of put it back to how the code probably used to be. So you see, instead of respawn time, we're taking 1,000 times respawn time and turning that into an int. So that should give us milliseconds. And just as a test, let's go ahead and run this. I have a feeling this might just fix things. In which case, we could probably just leave this. But first, let's see if it works. Hey, it worked. Okay, cool. So yeah, that was actually easier than I thought. So you can see, yeah, now everything is functional again. We just had some math that was expecting milliseconds, and we were passing it seconds. So yeah, it's a bit annoying. I have to go through the code and like clear out all these little bugs like this that show up. But it's not that bad. All right, so this update function deals with milliseconds. I could go through here again and just change it so that this all works with seconds, and maybe I'll do that, but I'm just going to leave this for now. It's working, so I'm happy. So get status, we can see, okay, yeah, the only thing we changed there was that one line, so I'm just going to do a commit with a message, fixed respawn timers, or respawn icons, and push that up to master. And there, now that is in Ballistica. So yeah, that's today's demo. Sorry if that was boring or anything like that, but that's basically how I work. I just, I add print statements, go through, look at the code, see what's happening, and just kind of keep relaunching the game. So that's that. Anyway, I'll try to maybe do more of these videos regularly, just kind of going through how I work and what I'm working on and things like that. So let me know if there's anything you'd like to see, anything you'd like to see me working on or explaining about how this stuff works. And otherwise, I'll talk to you guys next time. Cheers.